Hello, and welcome to the Copper State Marching Podcast, sponsored by the Arizona Marching Band Association, AzMBA. I'm Aaron Vogel.
And I'm Mark Hodge.
And we're thrilled that you're joining us for our podcast. We'd like to thank our sponsors, MVP Apparel, Music and Arts, Vic Firth, Zildjian, Synced Up Designs, Milano's Music, Music for All, MacPack, Music Celebrations International, School Funder, Bravo Video Creations, and Yamaha.
The AzMBA Copper State Podcast was created to bring together the Arizona Marching Band community. We wanted to use this as a dynamic platform to connect, educate, and entertain those involved in this wonderful activity, and to introduce our audience to some of our state's wonderful directors, staff members, and adjudicators, and promote our season's shows.
In this episode, we speak with Jeffrey Malone, band director at Mountain Ridge High School in Glendale, Go Ridge, and Nick Peterson, AzMBA Adjudicator, who's joining us this season from Fort Collins, Colorado. We would like to welcome Jeffrey Malone, the band director at Mountain Ridge High School in Glendale. Welcome, Jeffrey.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me out this morning.
Great to see you. Thanks for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is my first year at Mountain Ridge High School this year. Before that, was at Peoria High School for the last 6 years. Had a lot of great experiences to start my career. And before then was a graduate from the University of Arizona. So bear down, right, Mark?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, bear down and Go Ridge.
That's right.
So how's the school year starting out for you?
It's been going really well. I think I know it's tough on the kids having change and going through any of that, but I think they've done a really great job handling the change and continuing to work forward and find that excellence and find the excitement for the season. So it's been a really great start.
What do you like most about the new gig?
I think there's just so many great things that have been in place at Ridge from the things that Aaron and George and even Bruce and just for years and years have kind of instilled up there. So it's been such a welcoming place to come into. The parents are fantastic and super involved and super helpful. The students are working really hard. Know what it takes to have that excellence and that drive for success, and have a great staff to help along the way as well. So it's just been super welcoming and really enjoyed their acceptance and their willingness to work with me as we kind of find our new path together.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Yeah, great kids, great program, great parents, great staff, great band director. So you're that missing piece there. It's going to be great. I'm excited to see the show in a couple weeks. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. In addition to the show, is there anything that you're really looking forward to this year? Any special events, special concerts, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we're excited to. Well, BOA is obviously one that we're really looking forward to. So heading up to NAU in a couple of weeks. So that'll be the first BOA for a lot of all the freshmen, and then myself. We get kind of an introduction to BOA Flagstaff. So I'm really excited for that, for the students to have that experience and have the opportunity to see and compete against a really high caliber of musicians. And then we're working for. In the spring, hopefully looking to do a side-by-side concert with the U of A Wind Ensemble down in Tucson. So that'll be enjoyable as well.
Awesome.
Great. How do you balance a big marching band, concert bands, jazz bands, small ensembles, orchestra, anything that your administration wants you to pull out of your back pocket and perform at something they need you at? How do you balance all that?
Yeah, it's definitely been taking some time kind of figuring out how all of that balance works, and definitely trying to work to pace some things out and push the students in the right ways and make sure that they're maintaining that balance as well too. But we're really fortunate at Ridge to have instrument coaches. So those small ensembles are led by some of our instrument coaches that just do a fantastic job. So that helps take some of that burden off of my shoulders. And then just throughout finding those like little performance opportunities and finding those those things in class, like allowing us to focus on concert band. And then when it's marching band time, we're all in on that. So just trying to compartmentalize, in some of those ways, and not allow everything happening all at once to really overwhelm us. So trying to introduce those things slowly throughout the season as the students, figure out their schedules, and then they can balance the jazz band, they can balance their chamber ensemble stuff, they can balance auditioning for regionals and all of that. So as we've gotten into the swing of things here over the last couple of weeks, all of those extra things have really started to pick up as well.
Yeah, that everything, everywhere, all at once. I
Yeah.
just saw that movie recently, actually, and yeah, it does feel like that sometimes when you're trying to. We got a marching show coming up, but then wow, we have a concert, in a week and a half, and there's
Yep.
yes, lots of things happening. Speaking of the
Definitely.
marching band, tell us a little bit about the 2024 show. What's it called? What's the concept? The musical selections, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So our show this year is called Heart of Steel. Musical selections. First movement is Starvation, and then the second movement is a selection of a piano concerto, Deus Ex Machina by Michael Daughtry, and then it goes into Fix You is our ballad by Coldplay, and then also kind of an arrangement of the Jacob Collier version of that. We have actually five total movements, so they're shorter movements. After that, it's Hummingbird, the Stephen Bryant euphonium solo, actually being played on tenor sax for us this year. And then it closes with Cody Fry's Caves, a little recapitulation of Fix You and some of those other thematic moments. But it's been just some really, really great music that the kids are getting excited about. Story-wise, we're kind of telling this. All of it's kind of this juxtaposition of the mechanical and the beautiful, and kind of incorporating kind of a Tin Man storyline into that. Not that we're doing a Wizard of Oz show, but kind of that imagery of the Tin Man finding his heart. So from going super rigid and mechanical and robotic, and then slowly kind of adding in more of that life and that humanity into that character as we move through the show.
That's great. So you have your home show coming up here in a little bit. What are you looking forward to about that? When is your home show?
Yeah, our home show is October 12th. We'll be hosting Rock the Ridge. Really excited to have that event back again this year. And always, anytime you have the opportunity to host an event, I think it's a great opportunity to bring the community together, really showcase the arts and what these programs mean to not just our students, but students from across the whole state of Arizona, and the impact that this activity plays in their lives. But it's also, I think, a great opportunity for our students to take on those leadership roles, to get involved, to give back to other programs. And at the end of the day, we do compete against a lot of other programs, but we still can do that in a way that we're supportive of each other. We're helping them out, and we're wanting other groups to be successful in their own right. And I think these competitions are a great way for our students to learn that.
Yeah, that's great. So October 12th, mark your calendars. Be
Yes.
there at Mountain Ridge High School for the Rock the Ridge. And yeah, I just saw, I think online, there's 19 different groups that are going to be coming out to Mountain Ridge, including all the district bands, which I thought was just awesome to see.
Yeah, really excited to have all of our district schools there, so we appreciate their support for sure.
Yeah. What advice would you have for directors? So, you're now what, a couple months into, a new gig and a transition period. Do you have any advice for directors who are going through a similar, like a first year for them, lessons learned, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it was one that I kind of learned my first year at Peoria too, and it's that um, you don't try to change a bunch of things, and oftentimes you don't need to. Like a lot of that first year is taking in, and it's learning how the program works, and then how you kind of meld the things that they've done with the things that you've done, and hopefully finding the best way of doing all of those things. So it's don't feel like you need to or should go in there kind of guns a blazing and figuring out what we're going to do, and you're going to do this all my way. Like, No, the program's been around for a long time. It's been really successful, and it's not about going in and changing those things. It's about adapting, hopefully continuing to improve the student experience. Um, and I think as long as you're keeping the students at the forefront and making decisions that are best for them, and in their best interest, you're going to be successful and hopefully start to earn their buy-in and the buy-in of the parents and the faculty and everything on the campus as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I sincerely hope that's happened. And I know, special shout
Absolutely.
out to this year's seniors, like this year's seniors at Ridge, I, have a heart for, and just great kids that I think will be uh, the right kids to be able to, handle that with, class and grace and excellence. A great, fantastic all-stater class that you have in the seniors, the current
Y-
seniors.
Absolutely. Yeah, really strong group of musicians, but also just a strong group of people too that have really helped in this transition for sure.
So, do you have any tips you use for setting your kids up for success, or things that you do before a competition that set the band up for success, like a warm up that you do, or a cheer, or kind of like one of those things that just gets them going, ready for the comp or something like that?
Sure. Yeah, I think whenever we get to competitions, it really is just about trying to get them to focus in, and have that right mindset, because we know how teenagers can be, and you get to the competition and there's 20 other bands going around, and they're looking at all the other props and they're listening to everybody else in the lot, and they start to think a lot more about, oh my gosh, look what everybody else is doing. Like, no, just focus on what you're doing. Like, trust in your product that you've put on the field, the show design, how you're executing it. Like, trust in what you are and what you bring. So trying to have those moments on those show days that we're just focused on us. It's about locking in. It's about focusing, about just executing what we do. So from the moment we get there, we're doing that visual warm up, just quiet and focused, and ready to have excellence throughout the day, and taking that over into the music warm up as well, getting them focused on, is this your best sound? Are we executing everything that we can to the best of our abilities, and then just getting them hyped up at the end too. So I always like to bring it in close, talk to them a little bit, talk to them about where we've come, how we've continued to grow as an ensemble, how proud I am of them, and get them fired up and excited to put on a great show every time we head out there.
Yeah, that's great. And how do you practice that? I know, you get to the first show and all of a sudden now there's more bands and you're warming up next to groups where you haven't done. Have you found any ways to add that into your rehearsal, or you have plans to add that into the rehearsal?
A little bit, we'll do a dress rehearsal, to prepare for that. Honestly, the football games are some of the best opportunities. Like, if you can tune out the distractions of a football game and you can give a good performance, when the crowd's talking and people are running around and all of that stuff, like, that's oftentimes a good sign to me of, yeah, you can kind of put away those distractions, and when it matters most, you can have that performance. That's the absolute best for you. So, some of those I think are great practice for us. But then, yeah, going through the process, I would love to bring out a bunch of bands and just make them stand there and watch them, and have to go through that. But at rehearsals, going through and walking through what that's going to look like. From the warm up experience, we're going to walk over here, how we're going to get on and off the field, managing the props and all of that, just so, try to take out some of those extra variables when we go to the performance. As much of those variables we can take out as possible, the better.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm sure some of the parents would be happy to pick up some spare instruments and
Yeah.
just wailing away at 6:30 at night on a Thursday or something like that. So I did want to ask you, so it's, well, for the folks that are listening in, it's 9 a.m. here in Phoenix. And did you have a football game last night? So is this an early morning after a football game?
No football game for us. We were able to have rehearsal last night.
Okay, so still a late night, early morning. So really appreciate you doing that. And then are you
Absolutely.
you have another rehearsal, I think, scheduled today, right? This afternoon?
Yep, our final mini camp, of the season for us. So excited to hopefully wrap up the show this afternoon.
Oh, it's such an exciting time. So the
Yeah.
finish line is on the horizon and getting to that last set.
Yep, absolutely. The drill's out there. we're adding hopefully the finishing touches today. So yeah, it was one of those rehearsals. I was like, I didn't want to finish last night. I was like, let's just keep going. Let's finish it. Let's get it done. But we'll have a few hours today and should be all wrapped up.
Yeah, you
Awesome.
feel to turn that switch off sometimes. Like you don't want to keep pushing it so the kids come back the next day and like we're still hungover from yesterday from all
Yeah.
that. So yeah.
Yeah. And
Um,
sometimes, I think
you
about
have
the,
any? Oh, sorry.
let's just go late, kids, we're almost done.
You have any shout outs you want to do as we wrap this up? Like to
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Just would love to shout out first, a lot of the mentors that have helped me throughout my time. Certainly, actually both of you guys I've talked to, many times, and especially over the course of these transitions and things like that. But also shout out to Jim Masashino, who I student taught with, and Dan Bradstreet, who was my high school director, who gave me a lot of the tools to be successful and where I am today. And then just a huge shout out to all of the staff members that I've had the opportunity to work with, both at Peoria and both at Ridge here. Just really high quality staff members that care about students, and just great quality people as well. And they oftentimes make us band directors look really, really good when we bring in the right people to work with our students.
it's very true.
Yeah, very true. Well, thanks so much for taking the early morning, and we wish you all the best in your rehearsal this afternoon, and I can't wait to see the show this season.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We'd like to introduce Nick Peterson, Community and Business Development Coordinator for the Poudre School District in Fort Collins, Colorado.
Nick, it's great to see you, and thanks so much for joining us.
It's great to be with you both. A nice job on the pronunciation of our school district name, Mark. You passed the first test. Yeah, excellent. Happy to be here.
Critical test here, Poudre School District.
That's right.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. For folks that are tuning in that might not know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, specifically your background in the marching arts.
Yeah, that sounds good. So I was a band geek in high school, I guess you would say, and I was lucky to have a really inspiring high school band director that I think changed the trajectory of my life and drew me into music. And I think I was one of those first generation kids that didn't have a lot of people in my family talking about what to do after high school, other than just the general concept of going to college. And so the band became my thing later in high school. And so I went on with that through University of Northern Colorado, and I became a music teacher for a couple of years at Loveland High School and Irwin Middle School. And I think I was one of those teachers that the marching band, I think, was the biggest part of my job. I did teach concert band and all that, but I got really just absorbed into trying to make the program as the best that it could be. And so I think there's a whole narrative on that maybe that's why I didn't last in the profession, is because I was maybe going 90 miles an hour and it wasn't sustainable. And so I reached a point personally where I was looking at diversifying and making a change. And I think a lot of music educators and elective teachers in general can relate to the fact that it's maybe not a top priority in your school for admin and could be subject to cuts and reassignments and things like that. So early in my journey as an educator, I decided to go back and get my master's degree in school counseling. And I ended up falling in love with that work over time. And that's how Aaron and I intersected. I was a high school counselor at Fossil Ridge High School here in Fort Collins, and Aaron was our assistant band director at the time, associate band director, excuse me. And those were some really great years that I look back on now, exactly 10 years ago. And so went on with that for a while. And I was a poor graduate student. And I don't know how a lot of judges and drill designers got started, but my start came as needing to make money during the recession while I was in grad school and paid tuition and all that. So I marketed myself as a drill writer, and I was using at the time, I guess I can say it now, the statute of limitations, but pirated drill software from the UNC computer lab. And I kind of knew what the product was supposed to look like. And so I was like, oh, I can figure out the software. And so I was lucky that a small school here in Eastern Colorado let me write their drill for them. And that was Windsor High School. And we ended up having a great season. And That was, I think, my start, and then it just kind of snowballs from there. And I got recruited into judging, and it's just been kind of on the job training now for the last 15 years on that journey. And so that's my continued involvement in the marching arts, is mainly as a drill designer, consulting and helping out and guest teaching, and then of course judging. So I do a lot of judging in Arizona, of course, and I love it, and here in Colorado and in Utah.
So, one of the things that we both realize now that we're out of the high school band directing area, we're both retired from that, as they would say. We miss some things. So, like one of the things we miss is like the daily interaction with kids. Do you miss that, the daily interaction? And if so, what do you miss the most?
I do miss that, and I think I'm really lucky that I had a job as a band director where you get to be with kids year over year, and you're working hard with them, you're sweating with them out in rehearsal, you're through that whole vivid arc of high school with them, just that development from ninth grade through senior year. And it's just an incredible time of life, and you just make some incredibly deep connections. And I didn't really realize how much that was feeding my soul. But then being a high school counselor also was that, just in a
Right.
different way. And so I'm really lucky that was both of my career choices. It was to have those in-depth relationships. And I was also lucky to be helping with the marching band at Fossil Ridge. And so getting to know the kids through that role too, and getting to kind of get some of the perks of being a band director without some of those drawbacks of bus reservations and the late nights and all the stress and everything that goes with running a program. Um, so like you alluded to, Mark, I miss the student interaction a lot. That and I don't have kids myself, and that's just my life situation. And so I think there's that need that I think most of us have of generativity and just making a difference in the world. And
The impact, yeah.
being in the marching band program changed my life. I think I was kind of a lost soul in school, and I just happened to go to a school that had a good band program. Lucky me, right? Lucky for my parents to buy a house in the right area, I guess. And so that set me on a course. And I don't know where I would be without that. And so I kind of maybe look out for the kids that it's doing that for them too, when they're a part of a program and seeing them blossom and light up and all that. And just seeing the impact high school and marching band can have in a person's life is extremely satisfying. And I love going out and guest teaching and getting a chance to do that, even if I'm just ducking in for a day. I still take a lot away from that. And I wouldn't say I'm retired. I guess you could say I'm retired without the pension. Like I'm still like working, like I still am a community and business development coordinator. And I think long and hard about maybe finishing my career instead back in a school, back in the classroom, because I miss it so much.
Mm.
Yeah, you said earlier, you just, you were in a really fine band program. For the folks that don't know on the call, where did you go to high school? Who was your band director?
Yeah, so I went to Loveland High School here in Loveland, Colorado, and I'm really proud that the band has continued to be excellent, both when Aaron Vogel was there and then his successor, Kyle Friesen. They've just done a marvelous job, and the program continues to build and develop. They actually just got a silver medal at a BOA regional just yesterday. And so I love seeing that, and I love seeing the tradition and the logo's the same and everything. My director was Gary Hall, and I just had the pleasure of being on a judging panel with him here in Colorado just yesterday. And it really does speak to the community, which I think is really special. Band directors converge in Midwest or the music conferences or at marching shows, and there's a community there that I don't think exists in a lot of other professions. And yeah, maybe there's a bit of a competitive dynamic, but I think there's even bigger than that. There's that shared understanding, with each other, of just one of the most unique and one of the best jobs out there that we all share.
Yeah, so you've been a teacher, a counselor, band director, a DCI champion, and now you work at the district
Yeah.
office. So well, first, what can't you do? And then can you tell us a little bit more about, your role with the school district?
Yeah, well, thank you. And I should clarify. I marched to Santa Clara Vanguard 2003 and 2004, and I was lucky to have the opportunity to teach on the brass staff of the cadets for about on and off for the next 6, 7 years after that, ending in 2011. So lucky me, that covered 2 years where they won DCI too. But I don't know how much the baritone tech can share in that credit.
It
There
was
was
all you.
a lot going right, but I was really proud to be a part of that ride. And yeah, and I think my job now, I guess it could be a natural evolution of a part of a band director's life, which is that entrepreneurship, running a program, that business relational kind of piece. And I actually spoke a lot about that when I was interviewing for this job, because my job is about managing some business relationships with the school district, being that liaison for businesses to help them launch partnerships and programs and connect with the different pathways and things going on in the system. Or if they like in the case of Colorado State University, I'm coordinating a really big 8th grade career visit day that we're doing. And so many of the skill sets that I think were forged in the fires and late nights of being a band director are still coming into play now. In fact, I feel like I learned more about just all this stuff that on the job being a band director than I did in any college class that I've taken or anything. It's been the best preparation for the work that I do now. And Aaron, I'm sure that's maybe something that you can relate to in your new job at the state level, just the transference of those skills that band directors have.
Yeah, well, totally agree. As a band director, you're wearing a lot of hats. Your teaching hat. Yeah, you're a CEO of a nonprofit. You're dealing with parents and communication. Yeah, there's a lot of skills there. So I've found that also that the crossover is nice.
Public speaking, flyers, making a website, managing multiple projects at the same time, selling something that's not fully baked, recruiting, I mean, man, it's like it's all there, right? So
It's all there.
yeah, I think band directors could rule the world, honestly. And many of them should think about that. I look at our
That many
leaders
of
and
them
stuff like
shouldn't.
that, and then I think of
Many
band
shouldn't.
directors. Yeah, like they should be doing this.
Nick Peterson for governor. I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would vote for you. We'll talk. Yeah.
So one of the reasons we have you on is where you're judging this year. So where are the places you're judging in Arizona and beyond?
Well, I like I said earlier, I primarily judge now in Utah, in Colorado, and Arizona. And we have 2 circuits in Colorado, one that's really good Colorado Bandmasters Association and the way through a big state championship, and they have a whole regional setup. The championship culminates down at the Air Force Academy Stadium, and it's highly organized, very professional, and AzMBA is very similar to that. And I actually can't tell you. I can tell you the dates I think that I'm judging, but it's one of these things where every Saturday I'm at a different show. So I just look ahead a couple of days and remind myself where I'm going, and then I just go and do my thing. And so I know I'm coming out to Arizona twice. Once I think was at Perry High School. I could be wrong, and then I think later on for state or the weekend before. But I love coming to Arizona. And maybe this is your follow-up question. I'll answer it ahead of time. I think one of my favorite things is the critique, and you're a voice on the commentary file, and you're giving a number that shows up on a recap. But I want students and directors to know that there's a human that is on their side, that's behind that's rooting for them and trying to be the most helpful on their journey. At least that's my motivation, is to gear everything I say to being productive and relevant, and also trying to empathize with the journey and the situation that each band is in. And just yesterday, so I was on the other circuit in Colorado. It's called Friendship Cup, run by the Blue Knights, and that is maybe where the bands that don't have all the resources perform, and it can actually be really tough because you're getting a lot of, on that rubric, you're getting a lot of bands that are scoring in that lower box 3, high box 2 range, and having to sort that out can be a challenge, and see through that and see how you can be helpful. But I also think that's where some of the best work can happen, because that's where you've got young teachers in their first couple of years. You've got teachers teaching out in the plains, Sterling or whatever, that they're it. They don't have a drumline instructor. They don't know how to tune a drum. They're writing color guard work themselves. They're doing it all. And I don't know, they're miracle workers in my mind, and it's a chance to interact with them. So Friendship Cup has critiques as well. It was really satisfying, and it's a feature of AzMBA that I particularly enjoy, is having those conversations and getting a chance to help through that.
Yeah, that's so great to hear. In our training, we're always taught in the judges training, you're a member of their team. You're like on the staff for their show and in the critique, so that's good. Does CBA or the circuit in Utah that you judge also do critiques, or is that not a feature of their circuits?
So Colorado Bandmasters does an early season show, a couple of early season shows that have a critique following up on the Sunday
Mhm.
after. I usually participate in one that happens in Colorado Springs, and it's one of my favorite things actually, where they send pairs of judges to different sites, and we each have 90 minutes with 4 different competing bands that are in the evening show, but we spend the morning with them on a schedule. And that's just a chance, exactly like you said, Aaron, to be a part of their rehearsal process. And they come with different goals, and usually it ends up where they run the show and we start taking it apart, and we make changes and adjustments that are show up that night. And it's just so much fun. And I think it's a chance to shed some of the anxiety about, oh my gosh, we have a competition tonight. Oh, who are these people in the press box? And okay, well, we're right here on the field in this hot, summer morning, doing this with you. We're in the trenches with you. We're digging in, and guess what? I'm going to cheer you on tonight in the commentary. You know, uh, and
Definitely
then
more
bring
in
everything
depth.
that rapport into it. Yeah. Sorry, Mark. Yeah.
No, it's definitely more in depth. And it gets
Yes.
to the core. The core, I wouldn't say the core of the problem, but the core of fixing it and making it better one step at a time. And you're there with them. I mean, it seems like that's the best part of it, is that you're walking right next to them, a mile in their shoes. So when you do make those comments that evening, that director and those kids are going to be like, "This guy was right next to me this morning.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
should listen to him because he was a really cool person." Like,
I hope they think that. And and I try to be proactive. And if we see a problem, like, hey, you know what, let's put that in and let's get it in for tonight. Let's do it. Let's wrap it a couple times, and don't worry about it if it's not perfect. It will be down the road. And I think that is a way to kind of shed the anxiety. Like, look, we're willing to take risks with you, and if it doesn't work tonight, we know it's going to work in the future. Let's do this now, and let's kind of be in the spirit of elevating this product together. And I think creating those kinds of situations, where everyone's on pins and needles, like, oh my gosh, are we really changing that? Are we really changing that drill move? Are we really putting a guard soloist in that moment right there? Like, yeah, we're doing that. And I think it can also show the band directors to be more fearless. I noticed a lot of young directors, and that was me included. I took the drill and taught it, and I did not change it. I didn't have that trust in myself to say, I don't think that's work. I don't think flag writing is musical. I think that's out of place. Like, I didn't have the courage to do that. And so I think being there and modeling that alongside of teachers can help empower them and help them feel more invested and successful. So I think that's maybe a parallel agenda too that I like.
we've answered a lot of the
That's
questions.
amazing and very unique. I have not heard of that. Yeah. So you've been out, you've been on, campuses as in this clinic role, I would like to learn more about that. That sounds really interesting on the
Mhm.
Saturday morning before a competition. You're judging, probably every weekend this season and have for, it sounds like the last
Yeah.
15 years. What are some common things that you would like to say to directors? Because there's some directors and staff members that are going to listen to this podcast. What advice would you have for them about just things that you're seeing on a daily basis or a weekly basis?
I think it boils down to bands being the best version of themselves and not trying to be something that they're not. And I've encountered bands that have maybe limited rehearsal time or just limited situations, or, hey, this is a band that we're marching a lot of eighth graders this year. We have a new teacher and all that. But then if they pick music that's dark or abstract or unappealing, or they they get this drill that's too many sets for the amount of time they have to adequately clean it and put it out there, that's where I see the biggest failures, is when there is overreach in the program. And I think even yesterday in the Friendship Cup, there were bands that I told in critique, you need to just go down to 3 sets, 3 impressions, and that's all you can do. You don't rehearse on Saturdays and you just have class time. That's fine. Here's how you can be the best version of yourself. It needs to be on the grid. Let's create a couple of different looks and get those transitions managed, and then be happy with that. Not every band can be that BOA, top tier level that maybe we strive for or that we see in DCI, but I see a lot of young directors that might be internalizing that pressure and putting that pressure on themselves and on their students. And so they pick music that's too hard. And yeah, and then I think that's where it fails. And so I think the second thing is if for directors to just determine independently, like, is this working? Is what we're learning working? And being more fearless about changing it. And, they think because they hire a drill writer or a designer that they know best. But I would put that back on the band directors. They know their kids the best. They know their students. They know their situation the best. And they have to be the one responsible to give the students the best product that they can be successful with. And like, I get it. Some of the drills I wrote, I mean, I think they were okay. They got the job done, and even one of them won state or early on, I think, right out of the gate. But there was a lot of problems with it, and especially with the color guard. I would love to apologize to the 2009 Windsor High School color guard. Like, my goodness, those poor girls. But and I was the drill writer, and so it just shows that like designers are growing and they're human too. And so I think it just takes that's my advice, is just for the directors to take more ownership and be fearless about making it what's going to be successful for their kids. And then I think maybe the last thing I'll add is kind of on that same vibe is it's about connecting with your audience. And when you pick music that isn't as accessible, or concepts that are too heady, but maybe the band, you're not working with Broken Arrow, you're working with the band that has maybe been through some stuff or has a different situation. That's not going to be a match. And there's just so much good music out there. I'm often startled when I find bands that don't pick it, and they're picking something that doesn't go anywhere, doesn't have any substance or have any melody or anything like that. So I think it really roots down into just quality music too.
Great. I don't think we have that many more questions. Aaron, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, so we're ending just one last thing. We're ending each of these now with shout outs. Something that I picked up from a drum corps in Utah, actually, the battalion. They did that at the end of their rehearsals, and I took it to my band where I was teaching the last number of years. And so we just wanted to ask you if you have any shout outs before we end the call.
Yeah, well, shout out to you guys for doing this. First of all, it's a Sunday in the middle of the day, and you have your lives to live, and I think it's really cool that you're offering this as a resource. And so thank you for creating it and including me. The immediate one that's on my mind is I want to give a shout out to Gary Hall, my high school band director, at least my last 2 years. We were on a panel together, and you look through the glass and he still raises his eyebrow, group is out of tune or the percussion's playing out, and it takes me right back to 20 years ago when I was in his band room, and that was the same thing. And just I think every band kid you're spending so much contact time with your band director, you kind of learn their isms, right? So there's just yesterday the Mr. Hall isms, and then again just that sense of community. Like, judges aren't big scary people. In between bands, me and Mr. Hall were talking about how our gardens were doing and what he's going to do with his extra zucchinis. And then all right, a band takes the field, and we go out there and we try to support them. And so I just think it's a really rewarding and a cool community. And even though I'm working in a different career trajectory and I would maybe have the option to focus only on that and turn my back on my past in music, I would never do that because I see so much value in it and I cherish it so much. So maybe that's my last shout out, is just to the community at large for doing this work. And I think it's more difficult than ever, honestly. I work on the dark side now with career technical education a little bit, and the different pathways and some of those things that compete for students' time and attention. And but I also think now more than ever, it's more important for programs that shrink the school, like band, to exist with regards to mental health and just every trend that we see. So shout out to everybody doing this work.
Oh, thanks, Nick. Yeah, and thanks for your kind words. And of course, thanks for all your contributions to the kids and to programs and teachers over your career. I'm looking forward to seeing you when you come down here to Arizona. It's going to be really great. Thank you.
I am too. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Yeah, so to our audience, we hope to see you at our upcoming events in the next few weeks. We've got a shout out Mountain Ridge show, Go Ridge, and the Walden Grove show. They are on Saturday, October the 12th. You won't want to miss these fantastic shows, and we hope to see you there. This season, we're using GoFan for all ticket sales. You can access GoFan through our website at azmba.org.
Thank you for tuning in today for the Copper State Marching Podcast, sponsored by the Arizona Marching Band Association, AzMBA. And thank you for our sponsors, MVP Apparel, Music and Arts, Vic Berth Siljan, Synced Up Designs, Milano's Music, Music for All, MacPack, Music Celebrations International, SchoolFunder.org, Broadwell Video Creations, and Yamaha.
And we hope you can join us on the next podcast where we speak to Damon Nepper, the band director at Ironwood Ridge High School, and Denise Hudson, WGAZ Hall of Famer and staff member for the Sun Devil Marching Band and Phoenix Independent Winter Guards. Thank you.